Hello, everybody. I'm Joe Swerner. I'm your host for today. I'm an associate game designer on State of Decay 2, and we're going to be talking today about a couple of things. We've got Mr. Geoffrey Card with us here today, who will be talking about the color of his hair and how well you guys did on the that drive that we just had. You gave so much money. So many times you have exceeded our expectations, and one more time, you certainly did not disappoint. And so thank you so very much for everything that you've done. Once we're done talking about that, we'll be moving into talking about some of the leader building changes that I've been making to try to balance out your choices and make things feel a little more powerful. All right, so without much more ado, this next footage might be a little shocking.
Okay, I don't know if I'm on camera yet because I'm a little bit delayed. But oh look, I think I'm here. Hi. So you may have noticed my wonderful new hairstyle. I used to have a mohawk a lot, actually, and before people knew that my name was Geoffrey, they would just call me Mohawk Guy on this stream. But I'd taken a little break from the mohawk. You know, I'm in my mid 40s, but as one of the sort of reward tiers for making donations to our Red Cross charity drive, I promised that I would get a bright pink mohawk if you guys hit a certain tier. And guess what? You did. In fact, you exceeded it. By the end of our Red Cross charity drive, you all had donated $14,304, which is an incredible sum. That is enough to fund 3 full blood drives for the Red Cross. And to give you a little bit of context, I mean, when you donate blood, that you donate about 3 units, whatever a unit of blood is, you usually give about 3 when you sit down and get the needle in your arm. But somebody needs a transfusion every 2 seconds, which means that there's actually 29,000 units of blood that are needed every day in the United States. And so, and 40% of that is covered by the Red Cross. So basically, you know, when you donated to this and you made it possible for there to be 3 blood drives, which are going to get dozens, many, maybe more people coming in, giving those units of blood and providing an absolutely essential service to America's medical system. So there are people out there who are going to, you know, get through serious medical problems that they would not have gotten through otherwise because of the donations that you all made. So we are so proud and so just like honored to be involved with such generous people who you know were able to to sort of open up their wallets and give so much to this extremely worthy cause. So thank you again for all of the help that all of you gave to this thing. There were actually 400 different people who all donated at all levels to this effort, and we should actually give a special shout out to a few of our streamers who actually pulled in the most money over the course of this campaign. Brian Menard, Fall Down Go Boom, and Zuzzle QT were probably our biggest donation drivers. And so thank you all so much. But everybody, there were tons more people than that who either got involved as streamers, encouraging other people to donate, or as donors themselves. And you all just made such a massive difference. We're just so grateful. So we loved this. We hope we get to do it again sometime in the future. And in the meantime, you get to, for the next several streams, you're going to see the results of your donations right here advertised on this channel.
All right, so here we go. Some graphics to go along with it. Maybe I should have put that on top of your face.
Whatever.
Total raised $14,304, y'all. That is absolutely amazing. That is a lot of cash. So Geoffrey went ahead and mentioned them already, but let's go ahead and throw their names up on stream in a happy little graphic. Look at all that money falling down out of the sky. Brian Menard absolutely killed it with over 2,000 from his community when his goal was only 500. Holy cow, Brian. That was amazing. Zuzzle came through with 1,000 for us when her goal was only 250. Fall Down came up with 1,000 when his goal was around 500. Y'all so overperformed on this, and we are so thankful. And of course, the Red Cross was very, very thankful. And I believe Geoffrey, you also came through with about $1,000 as well, right?
Yeah. I did it by sort of pimping out our name list a little bit. We had basically people who made $50 donations watching my personal stream got to get their names into State of Decay 2. So that's coming in update 31. I didn't check it in where it would go into update 30 because update 30 is something we've been trying to keep very, very stable. But in update 31, we'll add a bunch of new names in the name list coming from people who donated to the Red Cross.
And if you want to see a clip of Brian Menard talking about why he likes Undead Labs so much, go ahead and click that link. And I can see that it's over there in the. It takes you to YouTube. It's a clip of Brian over about 50 seconds, saying why he thinks that it's such a huge thing for developers to organize these kinds of events and to get their community involved. Looks like it showed up on YouTube, but maybe it didn't show up on Twitch just yet. There it is. There it is. Cool. All right. So, without further ado, I'm going to take these off the screen. Brian, Zuz will fall down, and of course, Geoffrey. Awesome job. Thank you so much. But we're going to quickly move over to the other side of the business, which is to talk about Update 30 a little bit. It is a little bit further delayed. We are still aiming for that early August that we were talking about. We may or may not hit it, but I don't see it slipping past August.
Yeah, so basically the last time we talked about the timing for update 30, we said two things. We said number one, we're aiming for early August, and number two, we will delay it if we find bugs that are worth fixing before it comes out. Because, like we've said before, this is messing with your legacy pool. This is probably the deepest long-term investment you've ever made in the game. Bugs in that area are things we should take very, very seriously. And so we've deliberately made sure that, like, our standard for putting this update out has been very, very high. And so, yeah, so right now, this is the typical day when we might have released it in early August. It's not coming out today. We want to make sure that it's really in good shape. So keep watching this channel. Keep watching us on social media. We will let you know when it's coming, once it's about to drop. But it's just right on the horizon. We just really want to make sure it's in good shape before it gets here.
Okay, so all I know is this one's the builder. I don't remember. This one's probably the sheriff, and this one's probably the trader, and this one's the warlord that we'll talk about later if we get to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the builder changes.
So to just set the stage, so Joe, you have been working, people have probably seen this already in the PTR, but for Update 30, you have been working on a set of rebalancing changes to the leader buildings?
Yes, that's right. So part of what we wanted to do was take the choice of leader and have that start to mean more. And it's something we've talked about for a really long time on State of Decay 2. And, it's got to get done at some point if we're ever actually going to do it. And so we tried to take an incremental approach, and so I get to experiment a little bit with what's going on with the leader buildings. And so I've built this here, and as you can see, I've got things to repair. I was in such a hurry to get here and get this done. Sorry, y'all. But we've got some things that are in the works, and so some things I wanted to show off. We're playing around with different configurations. God, I can't even find words today. Playing around with different configurations and different powers, and so some of the changes that we've made definitely come through here. So one of the what seems to be a smaller update, but something that I think is really influential. The Generator 3 has always been sort of quiet, right? But what I've done with the Generator 3 is it takes away the noise, it takes away all of that stuff, but now it provides power passively. One of the things that we have been talking about is how do we toggle these things on and off. People tend to complain about having to turn them on or remember to turn them on. Well, I fixed that for you with Generator 3, and we're going to see how well this type of thing works. But then I also noticed that since I took away the turn it on button, you didn't have with a generator 3, you didn't have any way to like further train your utilities skill. So what I did was I did this, right? And so I added an action that actually reduces your zombie threat. Eventually, it will like reduce noise when the infestation update comes out. But here you go. You're basically pumping out static. Like pretend like you're jamming a bunch of parts in there, and you're letting the fans make a bunch of noise so that the zombies don't actually recognize human noises. They're just like, oh god, that's a buzz. What the hell is that?
It's like there's a waterfall in the quiet place or something like that.
Right. And so like you can just go bloop, and then you just wait a few seconds for it to go down, and then all of a sudden your threat level is just, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. I went from 6 to 2. Bloop. Done.
Nice.
Now, one of the other things that we were looking at here, and we argued back and forth over what was going to happen here. People have pointed out that it didn't make a lot of sense for the sniper tower to decrease threat / noise and be a noisy place if it's also going to decrease noise. And so rather than making it noisy and then also not noisy, we've switched the the action on it to be a minus to threat instead of a negative to noise, and that's going to also go forward into the infestations update. Now, there's not much about it that really has super changed, other than that. But these are the changes that went into the builder. Now you'll notice, like I said here, this is passively providing power across every part of your base at this point, and so you never have to remember to turn the generator on. You just have to remember whether or not your buff here. Now you'll notice I've actually like pushed these buffs. Also, one of the things you'll notice about a lot of the buffs that come out of these buildings, and a lot of the buffs that I'm working on going forward, they're now 90 minutes long. It says an hour and 30 minutes, but that's 90 minutes, which is the exact length of our day. So once you've activated it, it will stay activated for a day most of the time.
We do have one suggestion, by the way, from La Coalición. He says that apparently the art of the sniper tower contains a bed, and he was wondering if we're ever going to add a +1 beds buff to the sniper tower to account for that bed up there. Or are we saying that people don't really want to sleep up there?
A +1 bed? Let's go look. Okay, let's go look. Oh my goodness. Where is
La Coalición is always full of great suggestions.
Where is this bed?
So
I don't see a bed.
Wait,
so it's not at the top.
To the right. Look to the right. Wait, no. Oh, I don't see a bed either.
It's not at the top. So
could there be one underneath? I assume it was at the top.
See, it's just a knapsack. Like, I don't know if that's
there it is.
I don't know if that's a full bed. You know,
I don't know if that counts as a bed either.
Yeah.
That I would call that optional.
Yeah.
Whether we decide that needs to be reflected as a bed.
This looks like a I don't even know if I could sit on this. Like, look at our character size here. I don't know.
Kevkins the Giant suggested that should be 0.5 beds.
It's like the corner where you go and cry at when you know that you're about to have a siege. You know, like,
oh my gosh, crying corners. That is a facility that we need. That should be like a facility mod. You could just make add it like a crying corner somewhere, and then that,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that we were trying to do is to take these. This is what I'm trying to do, anyways. Take these facilities that are leader specific and make them mean more over time, while also balancing them. Which means that in some cases they got more powerful and more useful, and in one very important case that we'll talk about here in about 5 seconds, because I don't know if I'm ready to. Am I ready to unleash?
You can save it for last. We do have a question from Intrusive Thought,
Uh-huh.
wanting to confirm that what you said about things lasting 90 minutes, that the day and night cycle in State of Decay 2 is actually 90 minutes. Because that's not something, we don't advertise that very clearly in the game. And so a lot of people, it's kind of a mystery. They notice the sun going up, they notice the sun going down, and it's not like they're using a stopwatch to keep up with it. But yeah, the day-night cycle is 90 minutes. And someone asked if that was 45 minutes of daytime, 45 minutes of nighttime. They are fairly balanced, but there's a transition period between them that is better lit than night. And so it feels like the days are longer than the nights, just because those transitions, things are still pretty visible during like the sunrise and the dawn and the dusk periods.
Yeah. So dawn and dusk, I think we ended up moving those as actual transition periods. I didn't even notice I had a upgraded car right across the street. That's amazing.
Wow. Nice roll.
Look at that. Let's go driving, shall we? All right, so we're going to talk about these. So we'll go with the still. Now, the big thing is that with the still, I don't know that I made much change in here, but it's more of the stuff that's on the back side of it.
To set the stage real quick, I've actually forgotten which leader type does the still belong to.
This is the trader. So now we're into the part where it's kind of ew. This is the part that everybody's probably going to be angry about, and I'm ready for it. So
okay,
We'll get this out of the way. So the still 2 buff. What I did was I went through and I looked at sort of like what it provides, which is morale. Collecting the... Oh, I missed one. That should be 90 minutes.
Oh, oh no.
I didn't just find a bug in my own thing. I didn't do that. Actually, I probably missed it all on my... I probably did it on like 1 and then I forgot it on 2 because I've done that a couple of times. But what I did was... So the whiskey that comes out here is... Well, that's 20 minutes away. But it's pretty high, right? It's a pretty high trade value. And the beer, not so much. But they were way, way off base. I think that the beer... I think that the beer was slightly more than the whiskey when you took into account that there were 4 of them. I went ahead and balanced those so that the costs are... yeah, I need to submit a bug ticket for my own to solve on my own because I will forget. Like it's 100%.
Yeah.
But so I balanced out what the price versus sort of like what you end up doing. So in order to make the whiskey, you convert 3 food to ethanol, and then you convert that ethanol into 3 jugs of whiskey, right? But this one, you're taking 3 food and you're converting it straight into like craft beer, right? This takes 15 minutes. This takes like 35 minutes. One of these, I think it was actually this one that was superior in terms of like its value. And so I tried to balance these values out a little bit to make sure that the still didn't overcompensate for what it was doing. But yeah, so you can definitely provide base-wide water. Now let's see.
While you're looking for the next thing, McGurk419 had a suggestion. So earlier we were talking about adding a crying corner facility mod to the game, and he said that actually if we wanted to add another vehicle, maybe for our next blood drive, we could add a wambulance for people.
The wambulance?
For people who needed the crying corner. So there you go.
Yeah, I think we should just have that. We should just have that for anybody who builds the trade depot. Like you build a trade depot and then the wambulance is delivered. Because people aren't going to be happy. So I didn't really do much here with the trade depot. It was already one of the most powerful and valuable buildings in the game. But since I was going to do something to the traders that it allows, I did buff it still. So the building itself gives you 500 influence a day now instead of the 200 that it gave before. So there is that. However, you'll notice, where are we at here? Call for traders. So the cooldown is now 90 minutes on these instead of the previous 45. Now you can still get them down. So that means now that since the cooldown is 90 minutes, that means you get 1 a day, right? So you can call one of each type every day. Now, the other great thing is you have characters that can reduce the cooldowns. There are hero perks that reduce cooldowns for radio transmissions, and of course, there are outposts that you can claim, which is what we're going to go do right now.
So okay, yeah. So the thing that you were sort of concerned about, that the audience might react a little bit negatively to, was the idea that originally those traders, you could call them in every half hour, but now, or was it every half hour? No, it was every like 45 minutes.
It was every 45 minutes unbuffed. So I've basically doubled that timer in terms of what the cooldown is, and I doubled the minimum that you can get it down to. So now I've grabbed this radio outpost because right here, right? So minus 20% to most radio cooldowns. So, so this is how you get back to the quote unquote infinite spawn. So those of you who have become used to having like just the ammo trader on call when it's on cooldown, you'll still be able to get that, but you'll have to work for it. You'll have to get characters that help you reduce it. You'll have to make it a full-on strategy instead of it just being sort of the default. Because if I was at 45 minutes and I grabbed that, it would be not too far off just grabbing one of these outposts. It would not be too far off from just having them on call on cooldown anyway. And so we buffed that up a little bit so that that particular strategy. Now that still means you're going to get you get 6 traders available there.
Yeah, I was about to say, so if your strategy with the traders is you want to be able to sell things to them regularly, I imagine that this probably still gives you a ton of access to traders' influence.
Yes,
right? It's specifically if you wanted just constant access to their wares, that you would that this sort of backs it off a little bit.
Yes, exactly. And so for people who play that end game scenario where you got the trade depot and you just got the ammo supplier on cooldown, like you can still get there. It's just going to take some different strategy.
And so this is one of those things. I mean, I remember I got a little bit of a backlash when we rebalanced the red Talon soldiers a little while back, and I know that watching sort of the audience reaction from that is a little bit of what Joe is anticipating here, because originally when Daybreak first came out, I got so excited about making the red Talon soldiers that it was just so fun to come up with various ways for them to be powerful that I kind of overdid it, and I made them so powerful that really, I mean, if you're thinking of the game, from a narrative perspective, oh yeah, you want to have an interesting variety of cool characters from different backgrounds.
Right,
but if you're thinking purely from a strategic perspective, it started feeling like, well, what you need is an entire community of Red Talon soldiers, and that was ended up kind of fighting with the story we wanted to tell a little bit. And we didn't want this to be a game about how a bunch of badass military operatives are better than everybody else. We wanted this to be a game about normal people, from a lot of different backgrounds, striving together to survive. And so we decided that what we needed to do was scale back those Red Talon soldiers just a little bit. I mean, we didn't take away any of their power, but what we did was, very reasonably, I think, gave them disadvantages. Said, what? If you're going to be one of these incredible badasses, you might have a couple of disadvantages in your life too, like all of us do. Like every single person in real life has got some trade-offs, and so we pushed in that direction, and there were a lot of players who were like, hey, you just ruined my Red Talon soldiers. And we had to weather that a little bit. But ultimately, I think the game is better for it,
Well, and, like these are things I can easily adjust, right? These are numbers that we can change if it ends up being bad for the game or, bad for players. But mostly we wanted to sort of, see what would happen if we actually balanced it. And when you take a building that's as powerful as the trade depot is and always has been, and even remotely seem to nerf it, it's always a bad time. So I'm hoping that this leads to a little more game balance throughout. But again, this is a thing that's easily changed. So if it does end up being bad, then we can always change it.
We've seen another suggestion, by the way, in the chat. Just to put this in your head, Prox Macintosh and a few other people have suggested that if you wanted to sort of not change what you've done with the trade depot, but still counterbalance it for the trader, that maybe upgrading the forge in some way might be good. I've actually heard that. La Coalition, I think, has made that point to me several times in the past.
Yeah,
too.
the forge and the auto shop have been on my mind for a really long time, because they're sort of like you build them and then you get rid of them, right? And so there are other facilities that I would absolutely love to balance, but I think I kind of have to prove that I didn't just totally destroy things with this before anybody lets me touch anything else.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like you don't want to make too many. Like when you're trying to do something scientifically, you don't want to change everything at once. You have to have things that are controls and things that are variables. So if you change every facility simultaneously, then you just don't even know what worked and what didn't. But if you change a few things, watch them, change a few more things, watch them. It's a much more reasonable way to go, and you can keep things a little bit more stable and a little bit more.
And that's kind of what we were going for. And I did notice that, I don't remember who it was, but thank you for the question. I did notice in chat that somebody had asked, like, can you still get it down to 15 minutes? No, that's also doubled. You can get it down to 30. And let me show you why. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and call my favorite trader. We're going to call the ammo trader. Thanks, Chase. Where are we at? Where are they? Where are they? Okay. Oh, they're at my base? Dang. I forgot. I haven't, it's been so long since I played with the trade depot. I forgot that they literally show up inside your base. So you'll notice here that, like, I can buy pretty much anything that I would ever need. I've got four of the ammo presses. We've got like 3 of these. We've got some really nice guns that are sort of starter guns that will get me down the path. But buying these 3, super easy, right? And then the cooldown itself, nope, it's on the map. Thanks. The cooldown already for the ammo trader is 30 minutes. So, like I said, if you really want to devote your time to it, and I put a lot of thought into the numbers that I chose. I wasn't just like, let's double everything. I was like, let's double everything because. And then so you can still, with a little bit of investment in what you're doing, you can still get this down to 30 minutes. It's going to have to be like a 66% decrease, which would be like 3 outposts and then some, but you can still do it. So, and a minor thing, well, maybe not a minor thing, but something that I probably should point out, is when you go in here, of all of your outposts, cell towers and these kinds of things that decrease the radio cooldowns, they also have the largest passive scouting. So to give you an idea exactly how big these passive scouting areas are,
that's half a kilometer.
Yeah, that's okay. Where's my marker? I am at my base. The passive scouting for that tower almost comes all the way to my base. In fact, it probably does come to my base. And so now anything that's coming from that direction, yeah, it's just on the edge of the base right there. So anything that's coming from that direction, now imagine that distance. So if here to here is 500 meters, that means that here to here, anything that's coming from this direction, you're going to get to see in real time. So you can see now there's the feral and there's like all of these things, and once the infestations start going, they'll be Talon, that it'll be there better. So there are a lot of advantages to grabbing the cell towers, and without spoiling too much, there will be more later. So.
So we do have a question from E5 a Pie guy who wants to know if all we're doing is adding features in update 30, or if there's also been bug fixes. E5 lists like a bunch of specific fixes that he's looking for, and we can never promise that we're going to do your favorite bugs specifically, but yeah, Joe.
There are always bug fixes in every update that we do. Usually they are posted in our patch notes, the full version. If you're just looking at the ones in the game, we cut the bug fixes out of those, just because we run out of space really quickly if we don't. And but the full patch notes can be seen on our website, on our support site and also on Steam pretty much anytime.
And we're going to be doing whenever we do drop update 30. That's when I'm going to host a patch note stream where we're going to go over the full patch notes and talk it all through. So you'll be aware of the fixes that we have made.
Yeah. Okay. So now the sheriff. The leader facilities changes probably will be included in the patch notes, Prox Macintosh. I don't know how full the patch notes are, but
yeah, it would be weird not to include them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would be surprised if they're not there.
Oh, it's a little dark now. Okay, so now we're gonna go over what the sheriff changes are.
Is there anything I can do?
And then, so you'll notice again, what I've done is I've put in a passive here for the shooting range 2. So very similar to the action that you can currently take on live with the Warlord's Armory. You now have improved gun accuracy, basically like from cleaning and from practice at the shooting range. You now have improved gun accuracy across your community. Now, what that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot, like when you're talking about these assault rifles, because their accuracy is really great when you're firing the first shot or so. But if you fire full auto, it often goes a little bit awry. Now, it doesn't go quite as awry now, and you'll notice that also, if you look, like the spread, the spread of the bullets, like where they're going, even when you're prepped, it's a little bit better. Shotguns are a little easier to see, but I don't have any shotguns on me right now.
And the place where I'm actually looking forward to that improvement is with pistols, because I tend to run, like, a lot of the time I'll carry like a big heavy assault rifle for if I get in massive trouble, if I need to fight a juggernaut or a plague heart. But I actually use a pistol for most of my just moment to moment, just kill a zombie to get it out of my way type situations. And those can sometimes be frustrating because they have a much wider initial sort of spread to them when you're just aiming a pistol around. It doesn't get as tight even when you're taking your first shot. And so having an improvement to accuracy overall feels like it would make my pistols a lot more viable than they were.
Yeah. And you'll notice like there are a lot of things in here that you can shoot, but there's always like, hey, here's some targets. And I don't know, I've been to some shooting ranges, and when you practice a lot, you do get a lot better, and you start cleaning those guns, and you have to like do the maintenance and all of that fun stuff. And that certainly helps in a lot of ways, not just your own strength of arm, but then also like keeping your ability to shoot the weapon straight, and the weapon actually gets better over time in a lot of cases. So anyway, that was part of my thinking. There is the sheriff. It seems like they really should have something else that like allows you to practice, right? Like, what is it that you're training for, and what is it that you're doing? Now the big thing about the sheriff is this thing right here. So the field hospital has always been a really great facility, and I went and made it a little bit better. When it first goes out, it may not work 100% perfectly, but it probably will eventually. I think we've got a hot fix going in for this issue. But this plus 15 influence per day is actually not just plus 15 influence per day. This is actually plus 15 influence per day per friendly enclave. And so we've started playing around with what buffs are available and what we can do with those buffs inside of the game. And so this one I've actually found this like in the deep dark recesses of things that happened before launch, and I was like, what does this thing do? And then I looked at it, I'm like, oh my god, that sounds actually really awesome.
That's funny. Like I'd forgotten that buff existed. I think that it was something that we requested for a purpose like this But yeah, I never actually put it into the game. I love that you found that. That's great, because that's exactly the kind of thing that the sheriff should be doing.
Yeah.
Is benefiting from having a lot of allies.
Yeah. And so what will eventually happen is that the sheriff is now encouraged to go out here and make more friends, make more allies, and do the best to keep the peace in the neighborhood, right? Now, this is an experiment, right? This is 100% an experiment on my part. Thanks, Steve-O. Is that us? No, it's more that like we wanted to get this out here, and so it'll work properly before too long. But what happens right now, just as a warning, is it stays at the level that you're at when you build it. So like it doesn't have like a dynamic calculator. Zoe, our wondrous engineer and perfect person, actually went in and fixed that. So I don't know when it's slated, but the fix is already in. So it's super awesome.
So you could, maybe that fix will come out after update 30. So update 30's version might be the static one, but then it might come in later on.
Yeah, it'll come in later on, and we're definitely building out a whole bunch of stuff that's like that. Like I said, new man, we're hoping soon. We're soon, TM. All right, so those are the changes to sort of the sheriff stuff. It's pretty light, and then we talked about the trader already. Really, the only thing that happened there was I increased the amount of influence you get, and then I also increased the cooldowns quite a bit. However, you can, if you want to work at it, still get it back down to basically having them on cooldown. And then let's recap real quick for the builder. The generator 3 is now super awesome. So you don't have to remember to turn it on to have power on all the time. It just happens to do it. And then you can also use it to sort of pump out, do what you do in places like Whitney Field and that type of thing. So now you can reduce threat / noise at home using your generator 3. And then finally, the one that I'm definitely not ready to discuss yet because, well, I don't have a base yet where I can build this. and this one's also on lethal. So this might just end up being really entertaining as everybody gets to watch me die.
So you're going to go try to claim a base as a warlord so you can show what some warlord stuff can do. But yes, in the meantime, you might just be dying.
I might. This is
awesome.
Yes. So we'll see where it goes because we're just going from standard to lethal. No big deal. Okay. Okay, we need to go. He's checked into the infirmary. That's great. Okay, so our other character. Speaking of people who have their name in the game, here we go.
There's Zuzzle, yeah.
Here's Zuzzle. All right, so we're gonna clean up that, and we're gonna take some scent block because I really don't want to get anybody killed, and we're gonna take some plague cure. We don't have any bombs, but I'm gonna take a couple of Willy Pete grenades. And we'll take a couple of bloater cloud grenades and then a few Molotovs and just in case, first aid kit. Okay. Where are we at?
I do not want to let that screamer bring friends.
So while you are on the way, I've been collecting a few questions from the audience about like future features they wish that we would add, some of which I think we could probably say something intelligent about. Do you want me to go through some of these?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, so Prox Macintosh wants to know, is there a plan to remove the soft cap for population? So, were you going to say something, Joe?
Yeah. So, Randy, who is now the lead designer on State of Decay 2, and we have talked about that a lot and how much of a pain in the butt it is. So, the answer is we want to change it, but it seems like such a small thing, like you just change that one little number. But there are so many missions that are tied to that one little number that it would not be a small change, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, like part of the problem is when we set that number up, we didn't set it up like there's an automatic like the game just knows what the soft cap is, and any mission can just check the soft cap and see if you've got the right number of people. Instead, we got missions manually checking the number 9 or whatever. Like they're checking the number, and you would have to go through, and it's not just missions, there's like other features as well. There's like lots of parts of the game that assume that those numbers are staying the same. And so if we just change the number, a bunch of stuff would probably break. So it would be an elaborate process to find all the places to make those changes and make them. But I love that your team is talking about it, because yeah, I agree. It is one of the most weird and annoying parts of the game.
I can barely swing this thing.
No touching. No touching. No touching.
Fire in the hole.
So yeah. And then Sir Aku wanted to know if we've ever thought about adding hunger and thirst meters to the game.
It's hurting.
That was
Yeah, I don't know if that's a thing we're talking about right now.
Yeah, it's tough because this game it's trying to be a lot of things to a lot of people already. And so one of the challenges we always have is when we're designing systems for State of Decay 2. There are certain systems that like different players really love different parts of the game, and if we take any one part of the game and make it too complex, all the players for whom that is not their favorite system get driven away by it, even while there's players for whom that is their favorite system are entertained by it. And so it's this giant balancing act with this very broad audience of people who love our game for different reasons, trying to make sure we don't lean so hard into something that one narrow sliver of players loves, that we end up alienating a bunch of other players. So hunger and thirst meters are probably on that list of like people who are like hardcore survival game players who like this game for the sense of of it being a survival game. A lot of folks in that category would absolutely love to have hunger and thirst meters to worry about. People who play Fallout New Vegas in hardcore mode and stuff like that. Brian Menard, I'm looking at you, would love to have those kinds of mechanics brought into the game. But there are a lot of people who would not. And so it would probably that kind of feature would have a fairly narrow audience and could potentially actually be harmful to the experience for other people. And so it would be a thing we would have to consider very, very carefully and judiciously if we decided we wanted something like that. It's the kind of thing that might make sense in another game rather than adding it to a game that has already got an established audience that expects certain things.
And there are a lot of times, a lot of questions that come out of people about like, well, why are we making this choice? And the answer is like, unlike other survival games, you're playing a community of people, and I don't know of a lot of I know a lot of games that include those hunger and thirst meters. Like you've got like one character that you're controlling. And,
that's a really good point.
And it's a very different feeling. So what you're trying to do here is you're trying to like balance the needs of your community at the same time.
We could actually move in here if we wanted.
Yeah, I've got scent block on. It's cheese mode. Okay. But I've got a point that I need to make. Okay. Mm-hmm. Gosh, okay, do I have enough to make a war? Do I have enough? I do. Okay, so we'll build an armory. I don't have enough people after that though. Great.
Wonderful.
Okay. So we'll come out here, and then we'll do this, and we'll drop that in there. We'll drop that in there, and we'll keep all the other things just in case. But the idea is that like a lot of those things that work in single player games won't necessarily work in a game like this. They don't necessarily not work in a game like this, but it's definitely a different feeling than if you're you mentioned Fallout. You're playing like one character in Fallout. So I mean,
yeah, that's true. So you do have to worry about hunger for your entire community. You've got your how much food your people are eating per day, how much food you have in your stockpile, what your food income is. You do have that concern in State of Decay 2, but you're worrying about it on the community level. You're not worrying about it on the individual level. And if we made you worry about it on the individual level, worrying about that for 12 people could be just a nightmare. Yes. And not really the kind of thing you want to spend your brain space on,
Yeah. Okay,
let's
do that.
We've had several players asking about if you can send people to the legacy pool in update 30. If you can send people to the legacy pool if they have never been to the legacy pool, is it only sending back your existing legacy characters, or can you send someone who you just barely recruited?
You can send anyone, literally anyone.
So somebody could actually have like stats as far as what their victories and things are, on that legacy pool of 0 because they've literally never done anything to get recruited.
Yeah, and there are also some other warnings, like you got to I would post out there for people who are too used to it. Like, make sure you're reading everything when the new update comes out and you complete any kind of stuff, anything. Like, make sure that you are very clear about how it works. There are 3 panels that explain it, but if you're not careful, you could end up like losing a bunch of stuff and some beloved characters because of some choices that we had to make in order to avoid some really nasty bugs.
Well, do you have a particular one in mind that the audience would want to know about?
Yeah. So at the end, when you've completed the legacy, you have sort of like the screen where you put them into the pool, and you need to put them into the pool. Like, you have to actively put people into the pool, regardless. But especially once you've completed it, you have to actively put them into your pool. They don't automatically go like they used to. And so they could easily just end up getting deleted.
That is really good to know, yes.
If you're not paying attention, right? And I don't know about y'all, but I'm the kind of gamer that doesn't pay attention a lot of times. And then
same.
I find out that, like, oopsie, I just deleted my favorite person.
Yeah, let's definitely let everyone keep that in mind. That's I didn't know about that, so I'm glad you told me. Honestly, this stream is probably how I was going to find out about that, so I really appreciate it as a player.
Yeah, no. So anyway, it's definitely not something that we wanted to do necessarily, but it's the better flow, and it helped us stay away from some major problems.
Another question about update 30. Let's see, who was it? I think Wizard491 wants to know if the infestation spread rate is going to be the same in update 30 as it has been in the PTR, or is that specifically tied to update 31 and that will not be coming across?
The rate in 30, it may be close to what's in the... I don't think that it's going to be. It's probably closer to what's on live. But I don't know about y'all, but basically kind of the way that I approach it is, at least on live, not necessarily in the PTR, is I don't have to pay attention to anything. Like, I don't have to pay attention or engage with the infestations at all because, like, oh, look, it's morale problems. Yay. But there's, I play on lethal. I've got morale problems always. So, like, it's not a huge thing that you need to, like, go into. But yeah, on the beta, no, I don't think we're going to be seeing... You shouldn't be seeing any of this same stuff that you see here, like the telling you where the hordes are going or anything like that. That should not make it out into live. In fact, even this stuff that you're seeing here in PTR isn't necessarily like what you'll be getting.
The pips showing the growth of the infestations and that kind of thing. That's
right. That's
still tied to update 31.
Yes, that's all still tied to 31, and we will be putting that stuff into PTR as soon as we can, like the alterations that we're making to it, so that people can see what it looks like in actual real time.
Do you have time for one more question from the audience, or is your armory ready?
No, my armory is still building. It's just now that I have a mission for building it, so we're all good.
All right, cool. Gameplay to Republica wants to know. So we've had a feature from very early on post-release where if you had legacy characters in your community and you delete the save of that community, the legacy characters were automatically kept and put back in the legacy pool. Do you know if that has survived through update 30? Because we're making a bunch of other changes to the way the legacy pool operates. Will deleting a community still keep your legacy characters?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. I know that we had gone through some of the design meetings for that, and I was like, that we can't change this. Like, this is a thing that we need to keep because I really don't want to see a bajillion emails from angry customers, because that's what we're going to get. And so essentially, yes. To the best of my knowledge, if I end up not being correct, then please send in reports to support.stateofdecay.com and let me know, because the last I checked. Oh yeah. Okay, so Captain Jardin's one of our QA testers, and since I moved over to design, like, it's funny that I don't know as much about the game as I used to. As just a customer.
It's weird for me. It's weird for me to be asking you stuff about State of Decay 2 and you know the answers and I have no idea. That's really moving around in the studio can mess with you.
But no, so yeah, that's how it works. You can delete them, and when he says don't overuse it, what that basically means is don't delete all 5 communities after completing a legacy and having a full pool, and be careful with how far over the limit you are, because it could get really messy when you have to sort all of that fun stuff out.
Yeah, exactly. Because that screen, one of the reasons why we have that legacy screen for choosing the people to put in your legacy pool is so that we can manage the limit on the legacy pool. Because if you'll remember, when the game first shipped, there was no limit on the legacy pool. There was also no screen to manage it, which was very inconvenient. But people could overfill the legacy pool, and their cloud saves would literally stop working because they had too many characters in their legacy pool.
Yeah, and I think that number was somewhere around 130 at the time.
Yeah, so we reduced the limit down to 50, from infinity to 50. And that's great and all, but that means that now we have to manage that limit. And so because there isn't when you delete a community, there isn't a screen that pops up that lets you manage your relationship to the limit. Whoa, you're doing some nice dodging there that I'm seeing delayed. Anyway, I'm getting distracted by how you're playing. Okay, anyway. Because you don't that means that we basically just start dumping extra people into the pool, and you can get yourself into a bad situation with too many extra characters in your pool. So yeah,
oh, no.
like Capri was saying, use that very cautiously.
No. Sorry, I'm distracted.
So yeah, Prox Macintosh, if it doesn't work that way, then if you find that it doesn't work that way, that's unintentional, it's a bug, please definitely report it to us.
Okay, now, yeah, so definitely it should be just, you get to keep your legacy. Oh, look, we can cheat. Come here. Let's see if we can get that bloater to come over here and explode on me. Okay, let's do it. Okay. Yikes.
Your tactics are a mystery to me.
Well, see, if the bloater comes over here, and if he'd made it over there in time, instead of being over there, he explodes next to the heart.
Oh, right, you can just use a simple Molotov.
No, he just kills it. Bloater gas apparently can kill plague hearts.
What?
Yeah.
I thought you had to at least ignite it.
Depends on the bloater gas. But apparently,
if it's from the grenade, you have to ignite it. But if it's from an actual bloater, it just kills it.
So if you're in there, and then the bloater gas from a bloater like that will actually just explode it.
I am mystified that you're able to carry on this conversation with me while fighting one of these things. I don't play on lethal, most importantly because I can't handle the existence of these ferals. They terrify me, and you're just handling it.
Well, I am on the verge of getting really, really sick. Oh, there we go. There we go.
So
there we go.
I'm on a delay, so I
oh, no,
I could sit here.
No. Okay.
I could sit here and talk about how great you're doing while you're getting literally murdered, and yeah.
That's all right. I like doing well and fighting. Here we go. What? No, stop that. Okay, we're gonna use bloater gas grenade. We're gonna use it for the what it was intended for. Right, because that's what it was intended for, right? Like, it was to blow up plague hearts, just like that.
Sure. Of course it was.
Okay.
Actually, I'm more comfortable with it being intended for that than its actual intent, which is murdering humans in the most ghastly way you can possibly imagine.
Right? I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know how happy I am about our decision there. I mean, it was one of those things where it's like it's mechanically obvious.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, mechanically it makes sense. But since it's ignitable, it's a really great way to just, get ahead in the world.
so we are running out of time. So I'm wondering, like if your armory is ready, maybe we can go through just a really quick summary of what it can do, and then
Oh,
probably get out of here.
yeah. Oh, Warlord fans, I have done you a favor.
Be the only one who doesn't feel
So here we go. We'll only get to talk about this one because I was killing way too much time. All right. So for those of you who knew what the thing did before, you could actively do the improved gun accuracy. You could craft all of the wonderful rounds in here. You could craft these wonderful professional things. What you couldn't do is you couldn't repair weapons, which didn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense to me. You got an armory, all right? Like, what's the point of having an armory if it doesn't, like, take care of your weapons? So now you can repair and do all kinds of things in your armory, right?
So does that mean you don't need a workshop to do those things anymore?
Correct. And you
So
also...
you could actually strip out your workshop and just depend on your armory, depending on what you were using that workshop for. Oh, can you make all of
Correct.
the explosives too?
You can make all of it. So there was no reason systematically that you shouldn't be able to craft all of them. So you weren't able... The only things that you could craft in here were, I think, napalm, frag grenades, and the landmines before. So we've gone ahead and... I went ahead and put everything in here.
Wow.
So that you can literally... The only reason you would ever need a workshop, and I think it was Macintosh that called it out, Prox Macintosh that called it out.
Yeah.
The only reason you would need a workshop is so that you can build or craft toolkits. So, if you don't want to craft them that way, then you can still, of course, you can also build the auto shop and build them that way because you got that bulk crafting thing that makes it basically 66% of the cost that it would normally be. So the idea behind what the Warlord changes are, and there's also a change for the this thing, the fighting gem. So at level 1, it only does what it always did, which is give you 20 health. But when you pump it up there, it gives you the same injury chance reduction as a level 3. At least I think it's level 3 infirmary would if you used the primary care action.
Cool.
So, oh yes, and also Prox, thank you for calling that out. I forgot. There's also a morale boost. I forgot. I think I put a morale boost on it because I gave it sort of showers. I noticed that there was I went messing about, and I certainly found out that showers as a morale boost were great. Now you'll for those of you who play Warlord a lot, you know that you've got the barracks that gives you like -5 morale or whatever. And so having water in your base as a Warlord then gives you hot showers, which counterbalances the negative of having the Spartan barracks. So
that works. I like that solution. So that if you're only going part way with the Warlord, then you could have a negative, but it eventually, if you get everything, it all kind of balances out. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's like the Warlord's got a plan.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, I put a lot of thought into those changes. Why are the showers a Warlord and not a builder bonus? The showers are on the Warlord because they've got the gym. They build the gym, and everybody who goes to the gym needs a shower. So yeah. Anyway,
Warlords stink more, so they need showers more. That's how it
yeah. Because it's more about the way that I've always interpreted the Warlord is that it's always more about like how physically strong your characters are, and how prepared you are to fight, rather than just being like I'm always ready to fight, right? So kind of went with that a little bit. There's now there's injury prevention, because those people who exercise a lot, they tend to not get injured as much. I don't know what that's called, but it's an actual thing. So it tried to base it more in reality and give some buffs to the Warlord.
Well, before we have to go, one of the most common questions that I just keep seeing in the chat, some of them from one person who's asking the question again and again, is are we going to add a way to another way to get prestige, or other ways to use prestige in the game? And unless something has changed, I believe that we've had some thoughts along those lines internally. And basically there's a lot of different ideas that are sort of coming out there, and the problem is we don't want to haphazardly just do one idea here, one idea there, because prestige is such a powerful thing. If we don't think it all the way through and have a really comprehensive approach to how prestige is used in the game, it's just going to create more places where there are grind sinks and things like that. And so we're going to be very, very cautious about it. So we appreciate all of the input and the ideas that people are throwing out there, and we're taking all of that in. Ultimately, if we do end up addressing prestige, we'll do it in a very careful and well thought through way that tries to not create a new grind sink like Daybreak for the game.
Exactly.
Is the last thing I heard about it. But Joe, if you know anything more, feel free to augment what I'm saying, since I'm not on the team anymore.
We're talking about things that have been on my list for a long time now. Geoffrey can attest to the fact that I have long been a advocate for finding other ways than Daybreak to not only get prestige, but also to unlock items.
Yeah,
but
we both have.
It's very much it, but again, it is very much just an in progress thing that we are talking about as a team. And if we can pull it off, we will. If we can't, then we won't. And I apologize that we didn't get that done for you. But at the same time, it's just not something that we could get done. There were bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. And there's always going to be stuff like that. I mean, I'm really looking forward as a player to Update 30 coming out. And for those of you who joined us late, by the way, we did originally think it might have come out by now when we said early August. We did find a few extra bugs in it that we weren't anticipating. But the last time we talked about it, we did say very specifically, if we find bugs, we will delay the release because we really want to make sure this comes out clean for you all. So it might be a little bit later than early August, but it's going to be soon. It's right on the horizon. And so hopefully we'll be able to give you something very, very solid by the next stream.
And to just add to what to add to what you just said there, Geoffrey, please know, I want everyone in the audience to know that we're not pulling the release just because we found a bug. We found a bug.
So I think basically we should all be grateful for the very careful and methodical, very thorough QA testers we have on our team, and for the good decision making going on at the top. It's going to be good for all of us.
Yeah.
So anyway, we are way over time.
Okay.
Joe,
all right. So I've already said all the things that I need to say, and thank you so much, everybody. We love you. Geoffrey, do you have things to say other than that?
I think I've said all the stuff. I'm just really thrilled about this community. Going back to the things we talked about at the very beginning, you all donated so much money to help the Red Cross. You all are just, I've never worked on a team that had a community that was just made of so many wonderful people, and we really appreciate all of you. So thank you for coming to our stream. Thank you for participating in everything that you do, and just thank you for playing our game and supporting us and doing this job that we love.
And with that, I think it's time for us to say goodbye awkwardly.
Let's do it as awkwardly as we possibly can.
Yeah, like whatever we do, let's not tell them about the changes that are coming in update 59.
I hope there's an update 59.
So do I.
Honestly, right. I don't know if you could have persuaded me there was going to be an update 30 a few years ago. So
yeah,
this is
no
amazing.
Kidding. No kidding.